Welcome back to our channel, where every story carries a lesson that can change the way we see life. Today's story is about a man who spent years fighting an enemy who was not even fighting him. His name was Ethan, and for most of his adult life, Ethan believed that one particular person had stolen his peace. It all began when Ethan was 28 years old and working at a small advertising company in the middle of the city. Ethan was talented, hard-working, and ambitious, but he was also quiet. He rarely spoke about himself, and he preferred to let his work speak for him. One Monday morning, the company announced that they were looking for someone to lead an important project for one of their biggest clients. Ethan had worked on that account for almost 2 years, so he believed the promotion would finally be his. He stayed late every evening, prepared presentations, corrected mistakes, and even helped younger employees when they struggled. But when the manager announced the promotion, Ethan heard another name. It was Daniel, a confident employee who had joined the company only 8 months earlier. Ethan smiled politely, congratulated him, and returned to his desk, but something inside him broke. That evening, while everyone else was celebrating, Ethan sat alone in his apartment, staring at the ceiling and thinking, why him? The next morning, Daniel walked into the office and said, "Ethan, I hope there are no hard feelings." Ethan forced a smile and replied, "Of course not." But there were hard feelings, a lot of them. From that day forward, Ethan began watching Daniel. He noticed when Daniel arrived, when he left, who talked to him, what meetings he attended, and even what he posted online. Whenever Daniel succeeded, Ethan felt as if he had personally lost something. If Daniel received praise, Ethan became angry. If Daniel made a mistake, Ethan secretly felt happy. If someone laughed at Daniel's joke, Ethan wondered why they respected him so much. Daniel had become a character in Ethan's mind, appearing every morning before Ethan even reached the office. Weeks became months, and months became years. Eventually, Ethan left the company and found another job, but leaving the building did not make Daniel disappear. Daniel followed him everywhere, not physically, but mentally. Ethan talked about him with friends. He complained about him to his family. He searched for him online. He imagined conversations that had never happened. Sometimes, while driving home, Ethan would suddenly remember something Daniel had said 3 years earlier and become angry all over again. His friends began noticing the change. One evening, his old friend Marcus asked him, "Ethan, why do you still talk about Daniel?" Ethan looked surprised. "Because of what he did to me." Marcus shook his head. "What did he do yesterday?" Ethan hesitated. "Nothing yesterday. Last month? Nothing." Marcus looked at him and said, "Then why is he still taking up so much space in your life?" Ethan became defensive. "You don't understand. He treated me unfairly." Marcus replied quietly, "Maybe he did, but you are punishing yourself every day for something he did years ago." Ethan did not like those words, so he changed the subject, but that night he could not sleep. He opened his phone and searched Daniel's name again. He found an old photograph of Daniel standing beside a group of colleagues. Ethan stared at the picture and suddenly wondered, does Daniel ever think about me? For the first time, he realized he had no idea. That question stayed with him. A few weeks later, Ethan attended a business conference in another city. During a break, he walked into a quiet coffee shop near the conference center. He ordered a coffee and sat near the window. Then he heard a familiar voice behind him. "Ethan?" He turned around. It was Daniel. For a moment, Ethan felt his heart race. After all those years, the man who had occupied so much of his mind was standing only a few feet away. Daniel smiled. "Wow, I haven't seen you in years." Ethan stood up awkwardly. "Daniel?" They shook hands. Daniel asked about his work, his family, and his life. Ethan answered briefly. Then Daniel suddenly said, "You know, I always felt bad about that promotion at the old company." Ethan looked at him carefully. "Why?" Daniel laughed softly. "Because I never thought I deserved it. I actually told the manager that you were more experienced than me." Ethan was stunned. "You did?" "Yes," Daniel said. "But the manager wanted someone with a different personality for the client. Honestly, Ethan, I always thought you were much better at the actual work." Ethan didn't know what to say. For years he had imagined Daniel as an arrogant man who had stolen his opportunity, yet Daniel remembered the situation completely differently. Then Daniel said something that hit Ethan harder than anything else. "By the way, I'm not with that company anymore. I left 5 years ago. I started a small business with my brother. It was difficult at first, but things are going well now." Ethan nodded. Then Daniel looked at his watch. "I should go. It was really good seeing you." They shook hands again, and Daniel walked away. Ethan remained standing by the table, staring at the door. He suddenly understood something painful. While he had spent years carrying anger toward Daniel, Daniel had simply continued living his life. Daniel had not been waking up thinking about Ethan. He had not been losing sleep because of Ethan. He had not been checking Ethan's social media or replaying old conversations. Ethan had built a prison inside his own mind, and Daniel had never even known he was the prisoner's supposed enemy. On the train home that evening, Ethan looked out the window and thought about all the hours he had wasted. He thought about the opportunities he had ignored because he was too busy comparing himself to Daniel. He thought about the friendships he had damaged because every conversation somehow returned to the same old story. He thought about the nights he had lost to anger, and then he asked himself a simple question. What if Daniel was never the real problem? The answer frightened him. The real problem was that Ethan had given another person control over his emotions. Someone else's words could ruin his morning. Someone else's success could destroy his confidence. Someone else's opinion could change the way he saw himself. Ethan realized that Daniel had not stolen his life. Ethan had been handing pieces of it away. The next morning, Ethan woke up and made a decision. He would stop checking Daniel's life. He would stop asking what Daniel was doing, whether Daniel was succeeding, and whether Daniel regretted anything. He would stop replaying old conversations. But more importantly, he would stop trying to prove that he was better than Daniel. Instead, he would build a life that had nothing to do with Daniel. At first, it was difficult. Habits built over years do not disappear in a single morning. Sometimes Ethan would catch himself thinking about Daniel again. But instead of following the thought, he would say, "That belongs to the past." Then he would return to whatever was in front of him. He started exercising, reading, learning new skills, and spending more time with his family. He began working on an idea he had abandoned years earlier because he was too busy worrying about other people's opinions. Slowly, something changed. Ethan became calmer. He laughed more. He stopped comparing his journey to everyone else's. When someone criticized him, he learned to ask, "Is there something useful in this?" If there was, he learned from it. If there wasn't, he let it go. One afternoon, almost 2 years after meeting Daniel in the coffee shop, Ethan received an unexpected message. It was from an old colleague. The message said that Daniel had recommended Ethan for a major business opportunity. Ethan stared at the screen for several seconds. The man he had spent years resenting had just opened a door for him. Ethan smiled. He realized that sometimes the person we believe is our enemy may not be our enemy at all. Sometimes the real battle is happening inside our own mind. Ethan accepted the opportunity, and it changed his career. But the biggest change was not financial, it was emotional. He finally understood that peace does not come from making everyone respect you. It does not come from proving your enemies wrong. It does not come from winning every argument or getting revenge on everyone who hurt you. Peace comes when you stop allowing other people to control your thoughts. Years later, Ethan was sitting with Marcus in the same coffee shop where they had once talked about Daniel. Marcus asked him, "Do you ever think about Daniel anymore?" Ethan smiled. "Sometimes," Marcus laughed. "And does it bother you?" Ethan shook his head. "No, he is just a person from my past now." Marcus looked at him and said, "So what changed?" Ethan looked through the window at the people walking along the street and answered, "I finally realized that my mind is my home. I shouldn't give someone a permanent room just because they hurt me once." Marcus smiled. Ethan continued, "You know what is strange? We spend so much time worrying about what other people think of us, but most people are too busy thinking about themselves. We replay their words for days while they may have forgotten them 5 minutes later. We let one person's opinion destroy our confidence, even though that person doesn't have to live our life. We allow someone who hurt us once to hurt us 100 more times through our own memories. And that's when I understood something. Forgiveness isn't always about telling someone they were right. Sometimes forgiveness is simply refusing to carry them anymore. Ethan paused and took a sip of coffee. People will disappoint you. Some will criticize you. Some will misunderstand you. Some will leave. Some will even try to make you feel like you are not good enough. You cannot control all of that, but you can control how much space you give them inside your mind. Imagine your mind as a house. You would never allow a stranger to walk into your home every morning, sit on your sofa, eat your food, and tell you how to live. So why allow someone to do exactly that inside your thoughts? Don't let people live rent-free in your mind. If someone hurt you, learn the lesson. If someone betrayed you, become wiser. If someone rejected you, keep moving. If someone underestimated you, let your actions speak. But don't spend years trying to make someone regret what they did. The best revenge is not revenge at all. The best response is to build a peaceful life that no longer depends on their approval. Ethan finally understood that the goal was never to defeat Daniel. The goal was to stop fighting a battle that existed only in his own mind. And perhaps that is the lesson we all need to hear. There will always be someone who talks about you, someone who doesn't believe in you, someone who misunderstands you, or someone who treats you unfairly. But you have a choice. You can carry their words for 10 years, or you can put them down today. You can spend your nights wondering why they did it, or you can wake up and ask what you are going to do with the life you still have. You cannot stop people from entering your story, but you can decide who gets to stay in your mind. So protect your peace, protect your time, protect your future. Don't let anger become your personality. Don't let resentment become your identity. And don't let someone else's behavior become the story of your life. Remember Ethan's lesson. People can hurt you once, but you don't have to give them permission to hurt you every day afterward. Close the door, walk forward, and leave them where they belong, in the past. Because your mind is your home, and not everyone deserves a key.